Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Awakened New Skills, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. They arrived at the stadium and went into the main stands. Kankuro, Shino, Sasuke, Kiba and Choji were in the participants' stands, but Hinata decided to sit with Naruto and her father until her match was called. She knew that it wasn't going to be an easy match, but with the tricks she'd added to her arsenal since the preliminaries, she felt quite confident that she had a good chance against Kankuro. Hayate then appeared in the center of the arena and the boards lit up, showing Sasuke and Kiba for the first match. Sasuke Uchiha and Kiba Inuzuka, please come to the arena for your match, said Hayate, and both boys jumped into the arena, landing opposite each other. Hayate stepped in between and raised his hand. Sasuke Uchiha vs. Kiba Inuzuka, begin, he said as he dropped his hand. Akamaru quickly jumped from on top of Kiba's head and Kiba bent down and stood on all fours. Akamaru then landed on his back. All fours jutsu, human beast clone jutsu, said Kiba as first his nails grew longer and then Akamaru transformed into a clone of him. How predictable, yawned Sasuke. As he finished yawning, he quickly shaped his hand and shot a series of small fireballs at the one that moved off to the left. As he fired the last shot, he activated his Sharingan. Surprise, surprise, Akamaru has less chakra, so I know exactly which one to go for, thought Sasuke as the two moved to the side of him. No way, I didn't think they'd make it this easy, he thought, knowing what they planned to do next. Gatsuga, shouted the one on Sasuke's left side. Exactly as he had expected, Kiba had stayed on the bottom despite the fact he could have changed places with Akamaru whilst the smoke from the transformation hid them, not that it mattered to him. As the two spinning blurs got closer and closer, Sasuke just stood there as though he wasn't going to do anything. Then just at the last moment, when it looked as though it was going hit, he used the body flicker to move to the other side of the arena and watched smiling as Kiba and Akamaru's head first into each other, knocking them both out cold. He couldn't help, and when he saw them hit each other and Sasuke and around half the crowd burst out laughing at just how silly it had been to do it. Sadly, it would seem that you just can't seem to get a decent match, wouldn't it, Sasuke? Still, we have some idea of your skill level from this and we will consider you from this, said Minato from his seat. Shino Aburame and Choji Akamaki, please come to the arena for your match, said Hayate as Sasuke jumped onto the stadium roof to watch. Naruto created a clone which followed him up to talk about the next match with him. Shino and Choji just walked down the stairs, Choji eating the apparently bottomless bag of crisps he was always carrying. They got to the center of the arena and stood opposite each other, and Hayate stood in between them. Shino Aburame vs. Choji Akamaki, begin, said Hayate, dropping his hand and jumping back out of the way. Choji began using his meat tank jutsu, but Shino dropped a smoke bomb. Choji rolled forward and straight through the center of the smoke and out the other side, clearing a lot of it in the process. As he turned and came back around for another attack, the smoke cleared enough to see Shino standing facing the direction he was coming from. Choji just rolled straight into him and suddenly he dispersed into hundreds of bugs and reappeared on the other side of the arena. Choji again rolled at him, and this time Shino formed his bug wall with a slight modification. Instead of it being completely vertical to stop the attack, it was slightly angled, and as Choji hit it, he started to rise up it. The bug wall then flowed round in the direction that Choji was traveling in and formed into a loop that kept Choji continually moving around in the same spot. Shino then released more bugs and completely encased him in a sphere of bugs. He then started jumping around as though avoiding attacks so that Choji didn't realize that he was just spinning in the same place. Shino continued this game of false cat and mouse for around 5 minutes before the bugs dispersed to reveal a rather tired-looking Choji. He was breathing hard and was covered in sweat. Well, Shino, it would seem you managed to trick me, and I'm not entirely sure how, but you seem to have drained me of a lot more chakra when you did it, said Choji. That was simple. That main flaw in the meat tank jutsu's design is that you can't see where you are going. Also, my bugs live by feeding off chakra, so in your first and second attacks I planted a number on you. Then it was a simple matter of having you drain yourself whilst the bugs gorged themselves on your chakra, replied Shino. Fair enough, well planned, and congratulations, UW, said Choji, walking forward and reaching out his hand. Shino accepted and they shook hands. Winner Shino Aburame. The final match is between Kankuro no Sabaku and Hinata Hyuga. Will the participants please come to the arena, said Hayate. You can do it, Hinata. I know you can, and I'm sure you'll become a chunin, said Naruto, enthusiastically giving her a K on the cheek. Thanks, Naruto, she said, returning the K and jumping into the arena, followed a moment later by Kankuro from the other side. Hayate looked between the two genin and then raised his hand. He quickly lowered it. Began was all he said as his hand dropped and he jumped out of the way. Kankuro quickly unwrapped his puppet and attached the chakra strings. Hinata activated her Junkagen and looked carefully at the strings. My best initial chance is going to be to counter the chakra used to create the strings and then hit him hard and fast with 64 palms. Failing that, I think my best bet would be to use a shadow clone and try and hold him in place to hit him with a Rasengan. Wait, if I combine the two, I'll need to create at least 2 shadow clones, then if I use them to attack the puppet he should ignore me thinking I'm an illusion, giving me the time I need to hit him with Rasengan. I need to be careful not to K him with it though, thought Hinata. She had hoped she had planned well enough, then she remembered what Jiraiya had told her. Quick flash. Remember to be ready to deviate from the plan and improvise if things start to go differently. Make your decisions and stick with them. There is no time for second guessing. Trust your instincts and hopefully you won't go far wrong. Flash done. Be ready to change her plan and adapt if things don't work. Make her decisions and stick with them and trust her instincts. She reached into the utility pouch on the right side of her belt. She had gathered many of the same items as Naruto in regards to extra equipment at the ninja store, and after some careful thought and a discussion with Naruto they had decided that it was a good setup and they would both use it. Hinata had to pick up an extra kunai holster and another utility pouch to finish it off, but that wasn't too much of a problem. She currently wore her plain black uniform with a wari safely tucked away in a scroll in her other utility pouch. During the week or so leading up, Naruto had made sure that Jiraiya taught them both everything he could about sealing, starting with sealing into scrolls. Naruto used them to hold various pieces of extra kit, whilst Hinata favored having as much kit as she could to hand and keeping a wari and a few other items sealed in scrolls for easy traveling. She pulled out 3 smoke bombs and dropped one on her right side, one in front and one on her left side. With her cover-up she created 2 shadow clones, then she herself quickly moved out of the cover, her Junkagen allowing her to see where the puppet was. Immediately Kankuro sent the puppet after her, then her first clone came out of the smoke, followed a moment later by the second clone. Kankuro instantly thought, as most ninja wound when facing a genin, the first and second are decoys. He quickly sent the puppet after the second clone as the first closed in and see one of the chakra strings. Hinata was already nearly behind him and was starting to close the distance between herself and him. As Kankuro whirled the puppet round to target the first clone, closed the gap and see 3 more of the chakra strings. This caused the puppet to become difficult to control, and as Kankuro struggled to attach new strings more where being see, he had completely forgotten that he had another target to deal with. Hinata quickly seized her opportunity and attacked. 8 trigrams, 64 palms, she said as she began her O, counting up the strikes. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, whilst her 2 clones made short work of the remaining chakra strings. As Hinata finished her attack and jumped back, she dispelled one of her clones and the other charged up a relatively weak, but nonetheless powerful Rasengan and used it on the puppet, severely damaging it and rendering it useless. Kankuro collapsed to his knees. He hardly had the energy to move. He knew he hadn't used that much chakra, but it felt like he had almost nothing left. You win, good job, he said. Winner, Hinata Hyuga, said Hayate. Hinata then walked over to Kankuro and knelt in front of him. Hold still, she said, and then quickly jabbed him in a number of locations. Ouch. What the hell did you just do to me? He said rather harshly, thinking she had attacked him despite having won the match already. You should find you've got more energy now. In a few moments you should be able to move again. I just reopened the chakra points I closed when I attacked you. Unfortunately it hurts as much to open them as it does to close them, said Hinata, walking back to the stands. She then jumped up and landed beside Naruto. Great work, Shinju, said Naruto before giving her a K on the lips. She smiled. He was always there, boosting her confidence before she needed it to be and congratulating her after she'd done it, and she felt sure that even if she'd lost he would only be pointing out the good points or a weakness that could be worked on, and if she needed to work on something he would be right there the whole time helping and encouraging her. Thank you, Naruto, she said after they broke the K. She then sat down, leant her head on his shoulder and held his right hand whilst he wrapped his left arm around her. Minato appeared in the arena and held up his hands to silence the crowds that had started to talk quite loudly amongst themselves. When the crowd was silent, he spoke. Now then, this has certainly been one of the best Chunin exams I have ever witnessed. We have seen a lot of promise in many of the candidates that have competed over today and yesterday, and over the next week myself and the other Kage and Deimias will discuss the participants and decide who we feel is suitable for promotion to Chunin, he said, and then he disappeared back to his seat and along with the Tsuchikage, Reikage and the Fire, Earth and Lightning Deimias. Despite Konoha's rocky standing with the Earth and Lightning countries, an agreement was signed by the 5 nations that should any attack occur by one of them during the Chunin exams, they would be considered hostile to all, as it was agreed that if they would attack one they may attack any, and thus they would become the target and wiped out. The Land of Wind and Suna were exempt from this when it was revealed that Orochimaru had instigated the attack. The claim was backed by the 3rd Hokage, the Kage of the victim country, and thus the agreement was not enforced. In that instance he departed for his office to discuss the final matches. Afternoon 6 days later. The discussions had been finished and the agreements made as to which of the genin that had participated would be of Chunin status. The other officials had left that morning, and now, Sasuke and Temari stood hand in hand, and next to them from left to right stood Shino, Choji, Kankuro, Gaara, Shikamaru, Kiba, Neji, and then Hinata stood with her head against Naruto's shoulder, her left arm around his lower back and his right around her shoulders. Now then, the decision has been made and the names I read out are those who have been promoted to Chunin, said Minato. He waited for them all to nod in acknowledgement before continuing. Shikamaru, Neji, Shino, Sasuke, Temari and Hinata, you have all been promoted to Chunin. Congratulations, said Minato. But Minato, you haven't mentioned Naruto or Gaara, said Hinata worriedly. Naruto and Gaara, however, didn't seem at all worried. You're right, Hinata, that's because we came to the agreement that they were just too skilled to be considered as Chunin. In fact, it was very hard to classify Naruto because he is so strong. Gaara, you're officially a Jonin, and should you choose you can begin training for Anbu immediately. Naruto, however, it was decided that you could not possibly be considered for Anbu, as the Anbu primarily work within the village and you would be of far more use to Konoha and the Land of Fire working outside the village, so a special category has been created that you will be immediately put into, and any future people that attain a skill level above Sannin or Kage. You are now a Jokyu Jonin, you are outranked only by myself and the Fire Daimyo, and as such you accept orders only from us, explained Minato. Thank you, Lord Hokage, said Gaara smiling. Now then, I have 2 missions here. Naruto, one is for you. It's a simple mission, but it's to a town in the Land of Waves where I believe you would like to visit again. You may select any 3 people you wish to accompany you from those assembled here except Gaara, as he will lead the other mission, and from those on this list, said Minato, handing Naruto the list of available ninja in the village and the mission details. Naruto carefully looked over details and then checked the list to see who would be worth taking. Minato then spoke to Gaara while Naruto looked through the list. Gaara, your mission is to Suna. Your father has requested we send shinobi to accompany a group of shinobi delivering a peace offering from him. I figured that since you were from there it would be best to send you. You also may choose 3 from the list or those present, said Minato, handing Gaara a copy of the mission details. Thank you, but I already know exactly who I will take. Temari, Kankuro and Sasuke. I think it would be best for them to accompany me, as Temari and Kankuro are also from Suna, and I believe Sasuke would like to see where we grew up. I cannot say I am loyal to Konoha, for that would not be true. Just as I told your predecessor, I am loyal to Naruto, and therefore whichever country holds his loyalty also holds mine, said Gaara. He looked over to Naruto and smiled. Naruto looked up from the papers to smile back. I'll take Hinata, Tenten and Lee if you don't mind, Dad. I think that would balance the team best, said Naruto. Minato smiled at both boys. They really were worth of the status given to them. Gaara had chosen the 2 who were as at home in the desert as himself and added Sasuke to balance out the team. Sasuke being specialized in mid to short range attacks and better suited to solid ground and rocky terrain where Gaara is at his weakest. And Naruto had picked Hinata not just because he loved her but also because her Junkagen allowed him a better field of vision and could see through genjutsu. Tenten a long range and weapons specialist and Lee a short range taijutsu specialist. Thanks to Tsunade and Shizune with a little outside thinking from Naruto they had fully cured his injuries, he would be ready for combat tomorrow and the person who had made the request had in fact personally requested Naruto and said he would wait 3 days for him to assemble the team he needed. That was yesterday. Very well then, you have your teams. Gaara, depart as soon as you are ready. Naruto, I know Lee won't be ready till tomorrow but as soon as you can after that go. Your task is to escort someone to the village. They've requested an A-rank mission. You are to meet them at Ichirakis in 20 minutes. Good luck, said Minato. Naruto then waved and he and Hinata simply vanished. Gaara, Temari, Kankuro and Sasuke were already packed and ready to go, having expected to get some sort of mission already, although not actually expecting to end up as a team with Gaara leading. Naruto and Hinata appeared outside Ichirakis and did. Naruto wanted to eat and decided it would be best if they were already there when their escort arrived. 12 bowls of ramen, 10 for Naruto and 2 for Hinata, and 20 minutes later someone walked into the shop. Hello Naruto, said a voice that Naruto hadn't heard for a while. He looked round to see Tazuna standing beside him. Hey Tazuna, what are you doing in Konoha? Asked Naruto. He suspected he may already know the reason but wanted to be sure. I'm here to get you to escort me back to the land of water. Around 4 months ago, 3 months after you defeated Gato and Zabuza, another shipping merchant came and set fire to the bridge. His intentions are the same as Gato's. Thanks to you this time the village hasn't lost hope. But we didn't put up a fight. The village came up with the money for me to travel out. The reason given was for business. A letter was forged asking me to come and oversee the building a bridge here in Konoha 2 weeks ago. I came and asked that we have assistance on the same payment terms as our previous job. Since we held up our side of the agreement, the only other requirement was that you be on the team that came to our aid, explained Tazuna. That's what I thought, although you'll be surprised to learn I'm not really on the team going, said Naruto. WHAT, I'm going to complain to the Hokage. You were supposed to be on the team, said Tazuna, apparently quite annoyed with this information. Relax, you don't need to speak to my dad. I'm not on the team, I'm leading it, said Naruto. Tazuna slowly processed what he said. His face went happy then confused. What do you mean? I said I was going to speak to the Hokage, so why did you say I didn't need to speak to your dad? Asked Tazuna. He couldn't work out what Naruto meant. Hinata giggled on hearing his dilemma. Naruto is the son of the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze. His mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki. He was given his mother's name to protect him till he was strong enough to protect himself, explained Hinata. Again Tazuna's face seemed to go through a mixture of emotions before he seemed content with this explanation and ordered some ramen. He sat and ate for 10 minutes while Naruto talked to Hinata. How much will that be? Asked Tazuna. Just put it on my tab, old man, said Naruto. I can't let you do that, said Tazuna, shocked by Naruto's statement. Sure you can. I'm sure Tsunami will insist on cooking us dinner at least once, replied Naruto, smiling broadly. I can't argue with that, so tell me, are your other teammates on this mission the same as before? Asked Tazuna, curious to know if he was going to have to put up with the pink-haired fangirl and the brooding over ambitious gimp. Nope, this is my second-in-command and fiancé Hinata Hyuga, Naruto motioning to Hinata. I also have a taijutsu specialist. He's friendly but a bit of a loudmouth named Rock Lee, and a weapons specialist by the name of Tenten, said Naruto. Unusual name for a guy, Tenten, said Tazuna offhandedly. Actually Tenten is a girl. She's the daughter of one of the greatest weapons specialists in Konoha's history. Her and Lee are both genin and Hinata is a chunin, said Naruto. What are you now? Last I knew you were a genin yourself. Asked Tazuna. I'm in a class of my own. I was promoted to Jokujonin about half an hour ago, said Naruto nonchalantly. That's quite something. How come you're in a class of your own? Asked Tazuna. He was wondering if it was because he was a particularly weak jonin but had got the promotion because of his father. I'm too powerful to be otherwise classed as anything below Anbu, but because the fire daimyo demanded that I be on missions outside the village they had to create a class for me. Jokujonin means advanced level jonin. I'd be willing to bet I'm at least an S rank in the next bingo book of every other nation, explained Naruto, smiling at the idea of being such a high level mark in the bingo book. How can they tell that you're too powerful? As far as I heard, the Chunin exams only finished last week and I know they only hold them once a year, so that means they've gauged your strength at that level from only a handful of matches, asked Tazuna. It really didn't make any sense to him. Well, when someone uses two techniques that would leave most Kage with almost no chakra. Then does battle with a Jinchuriki, and after that still looks like they haven't even done anything, it becomes pretty obvious that they're at a very high level and have more chakra than the entire population of most hidden villages, explained Hinata. Tazuna looked stupefied. The Naruto he remembered was brash and reckless and certainly wouldn't have had the chakra reserves to do all that. After all, he managed to tire himself out climbing up a tree using his chakra. Well, it would seem you've changed a lot since the last time I saw you, Naruto, said Tazuna. You don't know the half of it, thought Naruto. Okay then, I'll meet you with my team here tomorrow lunchtime. One of the members of my team is due for release from the hospital till tomorrow morning, so they're going to need time to get their things together. We'll have lunch here and then depart after that, said Naruto, getting up. Alright then, Naruto, Hinata, I'll see you here for lunch tomorrow, said Tazuna, and then he watched as Naruto and Hinata just vanished. Naruto and Hinata went and found Tenten practicing in her team's training ground. Naruto detailed the mission to her and the ranks that he and Hinata had been given, then they left her and walked to the hospital to see Lee. Lee seemed a little more subdued now, but was still very formal and very full of his flames of youth. Naruto explained the mission details and the team that he was to be part of. Initially he was wondering who was going to lead it and interrupted Naruto before he could say that he was. When he was told, he said that if it was an A rank, shouldn't it be led by a Jonin? And again Naruto explained his new rank and told him of Hinata's promotion. They left Lee in high spirits, but Naruto had managed to get him to agree to not go on about the flames of youth whilst on this mission. They were on their way to the Hyuga compound when Sakura stepped out in front of them. So Naruto, I figure you and Sasuke were both promoted to Chunin then, she said. It was more of a statement than a question. She was still the know-it-all and hadn't yet got it fully out of her head that Naruto was far stronger than Sasuke and could beat him without trying. No, replied Naruto, a little irritated at the sudden interruption of his pleasant walk with Hinata. So you weren't promoted to Chunin? She asked, expecting him to still be a genin like her. No, I was promoted to Jokyujonin, said Naruto, getting bored and tired of repeating himself. The only other person he really wanted to tell right now was Hashi. You're lying, there's no such rank as Jokyujonin, said Sakura, getting angry at how he was lying to her so blatantly and expecting her to believe it. You're right, started Naruto. Finally he's going to admit he's still a genin even though Sasuke's been promoted to Chunin, thought Sakura. There was no such rank until yesterday, when the Fire Daimyo demanded its creation for me. I now only take orders from two people, my father the Hokage and the Fire Daimyo himself, finished Naruto. Sakura was raging now. Why you? She said, bringing her hand forward to him only to find her hand stopping before it hit its mark. She looked at her arm to see Hinata holding onto it. You know full well not to attack your superiors, said Hinata. Now Hinata was lying to her as well. Sakura would teach this wannabe kunoichi a lesson. She brought up her other hand to punch Hinata away so that she could carry on and hit Naruto. Then she'd take care of Hinata, but before she could strike, Hinata had spun her round and was holding her arm behind her, forcing it up. I told you not to attack your superiors. I was promoted to Chunin, which means I outrank you, and if you or any of the other wannabe kunoichi at the academy had ever bothered to watch me during practice instead of staring at Sasuke all the time, you would know that my entire time at the academy I was holding back. I thought it best, just like Naruto, so that you would underestimate me but were done holding back, and if you challenge us again you will find yourself the worse for wear, said Hinata firmly. She pushed Sakura away only for an even more enraged Sakura to turn round and try and attack her again. This time it was Naruto that grabbed her, and enhancing his strength he crushed her wrist. He kept hold of her and moved his hand above his head. An Anbu wearing an owl mask appeared next to him. Yes, Naruto-senpai, asked the Anbu. I'll take her to Ibiki and tell him she has discipline problems. She doesn't respect her superiors, said Naruto. He wasn't in the mood to deal with her anymore. Of course, Naruto-senpai, said the Anbu. Sakura was in a state of shock. Naruto was being referred to as senpai, but that would mean he was above the Anbu. Could that mean he wasn't lying? He was ranked above the Anbu and took orders only from the Hokage and Fire Daimyo. The Anbu bound her hands and led her away without her even really registering it. She couldn't piece it together. Naruto and Hinata continued their walk to the Hyuga compound without further interruptions. They arrived at the gates and were greeted warmly by the guards. Before moving on to the main room, within they found Neji helping to train Hanabi. Hashi looked up to Naruto and Hinata before speaking to Neji. Neji, Continue to train Hanabi whilst I speak with these 2 feet, he said. Hanabi, however, didn't seem pleased with being trained by a branch house member. Why do I have to be trained by him? She said very spitefully, her voice full of contempt for her cousin. Because, Hanabi, he has more talent and is more likely to become the clan head than you ever will, said Naruto. Hanabi spun round, glaring daggers at Naruto. And what would you know about who's going to be the next head of the clan commoner? She said, glaring hard, her voice now laced with hatred for this lowlife. What business did he have in here anyway? Hanabi, I suggest you speak more kindly and be more selective with your words when you speak to the future clan head. He only takes orders from the Hokage and the daimyo, and if he decides to teach you a lesson, there is nothing anyone in this room can do about it, said Neji. Hanabi instantly shot back round, now glaring daggers at him. As if this commoner wouldn't stand a chance against me, said Hanabi. Naruto found this rather comic and sent a questioning look to Hashi, who responded with a nod. He knew that Hanabi needed to be pulled down a couple of notches, and who better than a commoner? If you really think you're that good, then show me what you can do, Hanabi, said Naruto, walking into the center of the room. Hanabi looked to Hashi, who just smiled and nodded his consent. Hanabi then dropped into a Juken stance before launching herself at Naruto and quickly delivering powerful blows to the motionless target's chakra points. Naruto just stood there smiling till she backed away, smirking at having closed most of his chakra points. Well now, if I was a normal opponent, that would have been quite effective. Unfortunately for you, I'm not, said Naruto as Hanabi watched in utter horror as all her work to close the chakra points was undone and each and every chakra point opened on its own. How did you do that? It's impossible, she demanded. She hadn't once shown any of her emotions. For most it would be, but I'm not most. Reopening 30 chakra points is easy. Hell, reopening all 128 isn't all that hard for me, right, Neji? Said Naruto, looking at Neji. Even Orochimaru couldn't do what you did when I closed all your chakra points, replied Neji. Hanabi was starting to wonder if taking on this guy was such a good idea. Neji never spoke to anyone with actual respect in his voice. The words he used might have been respectful, but his voice never was, and the only way she could describe his tone of voice when he spoke to this guy was one of absolute respect and admiration. So you reopened a few chakra points? I'll still beat you, you're no match for the gentle fist style, she said, getting back into her Juken stance. Okay then, let's see how well you do against a moving target then, shall we? Said Naruto, smiling at how confident Hanabi sounded even now. She was certainly doing a good job of concealing her emotions, but he could see the uncertainty in her eyes. She launched herself at him. She couldn't feel herself hitting him, and his chakra points didn't close, but he didn't look to be moving. Then she felt one of the points on her arm close, but still she kept attacking. Then she felt another close and another. For around 3 minutes she kept up a steady rate of attack, slowly feeling more and more of her chakra points close. It didn't make sense. How could he hit her chakra points? He wasn't even moving, never mind having the Byakugan needed to see them. She jumped back and looked at him. She could hardly stand, and he had fought her, it would seem, with his eyes closed. What did you do, and how did you do it? She demanded. Naruto just smiled without opening his eyes. Tell me, have you noticed the change in your sister's and cousin's eyes? He asked, still without opening his own. Hanabi was confused. What difference could there be? She looked at her sister's eyes and then she saw it. The pupil that didn't exist in Hyuga eyes, and the coloration, that lovely blue that shouldn't be more than a light tint that you could only see close up. So what? They've lost their Byakugan? That makes them useless to the clan now, smirked Hanabi. Then Naruto opened his eyes. She was shocked. She'd never even heard of eyes like that. Never mind seeing them. You're right, they haven't got Byakugan anymore, but you're wrong about them being useless to the clan. Both now posse's Junkagen, a more powerful version of the Byakugan that only I can awaken, said Naruto. Then you should awaken mine. I am of the main house and therefore it is my right to have that power, demanded Hanabi. Naruto swiftly moved forwards and placed his hand on her forehead. You do not deserve to be in the main house. Until your attitude changes, you will be classed as below a branch house member. The branch house have had their caged bird seals removed, but you now bear one. It will serve as a permanent reminder that you can't have everything because of your birth. Some things must be earned, and both Hinata and Neji have shown to me that they are worthy of it, said Naruto firmly. Hanabi turned to Hashi. Father, you must remove this from me. I'm a main house member, I shouldn't have this, she demanded. Hashi smiled. I cannot. Naruto outranks me, and since he is not yet officially part of the clan, it is not a clan decision, and when he becomes part of the clan he will be its head. You must prove to him that you are worthy for it to be removed. Furthermore, I think he has made the right decision. You have become arrogant and that will weaken you. I will back and enforce his decision within the clan. Until you have proven yourself worthy to him, you will not be trained by myself or Neji anymore. You will have to find another clan member to train you, and I think you will be hard pushed to do so, said Hashi firmly. Hanabi ran off crying. He hadn't wanted to put the caged bird seal on Hanabi, but Naruto had done it for him. It was the only way she was going to learn that she had to respect people in order to be respected. So Naruto, what brings you here anyway? Asked Hashi. I'm here to inform you that I shall be leaving on a mission with Hinata tomorrow. I can tell that Neji has already informed you of our promotions, said Naruto. He then turned and spoke to Neji. I've also informed Lee and Tenten, so if you want to say goodbye, we'll be meeting at Ichirakis at lunchtime tomorrow. He finished. I'll see, replied Neji. Very well then, I wish you both the best of luck, replied Hashi. Naruto then walked over to Hinata and kissed her on the lips. I'll see you tomorrow, Shinju, he said. See you tomorrow, Naruto, replied Hinata. Naruto then left. I didn't intend to put that bit with Hanabi on, but I felt it would work quite well. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.